Um, if we're doing that, so 3 over 5 times 2m over 9, you can just kind of sandwich everything together. So this is really saying, like when you multiply fractions, this is this times that and that times that. So this would be the exact same thing if I just wrote this as 3 times 2m over 5 times 9. Same thing, right? You can just kind of squash it all together. The multiplying symbol here just doesn't really mean much, it just means push it all together. You guys follow me with that? Okay. Now there's a couple ways we just need to simplify this now. So you could go 3 times 2 and 5 times 9 and then just simplify that fraction when you're done. Or you can kind of see from looking at what things we can cancel. So I've got a 9 down here and I've got a 3 up here. Well, I know that if I...
3 goes on 9.
Yeah, so I could really write this as 5 times 3 times 3, right? That's what 9 is. And then I could just cancel one of my 3's up top and one of my 3's in the bottom. Or you could do it however you want. You could just say, well, I know 3 goes into 9 3 times, so just simplify that fraction up top, so it'd just be 1 over 3 in the bottom. You end up with the same result, right? So there's many ways of simplifying fractions that you guys should have done in earlier years. So then just multiply what we have in the bottom. So you've got left 2m over 15. Okay, now it says every time we do this, they're all going to be simplify and then state the excluded values. So excluded values mean what is x not allowed to be. And what did I say in the video that you watched? What is x not allowed to be? Or what am I not allowed to do when you're dividing?
Have it as 0 or negative.
You can divide by a negative number, but can you can't divide by 0. I can't have some number divided by 0. Not allowed. It breaks your calculator. So you can't have that, right? So what we're always asking ourselves is, what would happen to make me divide by 0, or what am I not allowed to do? So in this case, is there any situation where I can make the denominator into 0? Is there any value for m that I could plop in there that would make the denominator 0? No, it's in the numerator. M's not even in the denominator, so anything goes. We can put any number in for m, so there are no restrictions. So you could say where m is any real number, or no restrictions. Making sense so far? Yeah? Okay. Okay, moving on. Let's erase this and we'll do it again. Okay, let's do number 4 now. So number 4 is dividing. Almost just as easy. It's dividing, so if you take any fraction and you divide by another fraction, so let's say we had a fraction like, I don't know, 2 over 3 divided by 4 over 3. Do you know what that's the same as multiplying by? We kind of talked about this a little bit before, right? Dividing by 3 over 4, I could say that's the same thing as multiplying by something, you know? What if I do this?
Oh, you flop the bottom and the top.
Yeah. Dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by the inverse, so flipping it upside down. So the same as multiplying by 3 over 4. Are you guys okay with that? Okay, so now that we know that, we're going to use that idea and do that with our polynomials. So I'm going to, as soon as you see dividing by, what we're going to do is flip it. So we're going to say 6x over 7. Instead of dividing by, it's going to be times, so maybe I'll put a dot for times. Times, now what am I timesing by? 4x over 8, yeah, perfect. You guys following me so far?
Yeah.
Okay, and then all you gotta do is combine that. So we've got let's do it a different way this time to show you that it works. So if we went 6 times 4, this would just end up being 24. And what's the top gonna be? 24 what?
X squared.
X squared, yeah, nice. Over
56.
okay, now what I'd say is, okay, can we simplify that in? What goes into 24 and into 56? Yeah, little thing I do is I say, okay,
Yeah.
they're both even numbers, so if it might be a bigger number than 2 that goes into this, but let's start off with 2. So let's go 56 divided by 2. So 28, right? So we can simplify this to 12x squared over 28. And I'm like, okay, they're both even numbers again, so we could do this again. So let's say 6 over 14. They're both even numbers again. Oh, x squared. And then divide again, this becomes 3 over 7.
Every time I see 8 and 7, I just go to 15 because I think of trim.
Yeah.
I never think of the multiplication.
Yeah. Alright. Let's do 5.
No.
Okay, now we got a more complicated one. So right off the bat, oh, actually the last one, I forgot. What is x not allowed to be? What were the restrictions on that?
0.
Yeah, x cannot be. What's the only like denominator? Where's the only place where you'd have something divided by 0? Oh, and remember too, you're always looking back to the original equation. We're not looking at this one anymore. You have to look at the original equation to see what x is not allowed to be.
X can't be 0.
X can't be 0, right? Because 4 times 0 would leave me with a denominator of 0 right there, which you can't do. So you'd say x cannot be equal to 0. Okay, now this one, so let's simplify first and then we'll say what x is not allowed to be. I got a division symbol, so what's the first thing you're going to do? First one's always the same, so I'll write that 8 over 8. What am I going to do now? Divided by that? You gotta flip it, yeah. So dividing by, we just flip it, so flip it and multiply, so it's going to be the same as multiplying by r plus 7 times r minus 3 over 7 times r plus 4. Do you guys see anything we can
R minus 3 is
yeah, nice. So remember, this is like even though it's down here, right, the r minus 3, that's the same thing as this all being multiplied together, so we can cancel r minus 3 and r minus 3 now. And that's the goal, we want to just start crossing stuff off, that's what we mean by simplifying. What else can I simplify here?
7.
Every time you do that, a kitten does.
What?
Have you seen that on my website yet?
Yeah.
You can't, since it's like, 7 down here and plus 7 up here.
You can't.
You can't do that because this is in brackets up top. The r plus 7 is in, that's one thing. You can't just pick off the plus 7 out of there and you crossed off with that, so that 7's not touchable yet.
Wait, so
You
does a
cancel
kitten,
8.
Yeah, the 8's.
does a kitten actually die every time you do that? Because if it does, I really want to do that, like,
Weird.
for like ever.
Terrible.
I hate
Weird
kittens.
sadistic person.
I hate kittens.
Kittens are the best.
I hate them. They're fluffy,
I hate
furry, and they claw.
Okay, here's the question now though. What is x not allowed to be? Always looking back to the original.
Would it be 0 because of
There's 3 R's.
So yeah, and what I'm doing is looking at these things individually. So I look at this one first and say, okay, what would make that denominator equal to 0? What value for r would make that equal to 0? 3. So it can't be 3. Can't be 3.
7.
Can't be
They're all negative 7.
can't be negative 7 from this one, right?
Yeah.
Because that would make that equal to 0.
Another 3.
And then 3 again, so I've already got that written. So yeah. Is that it?
We only do the bottom.
Ooh, good question.
What?
Oh, he just solved the part of it.
What did he say?
Do we only do the bottom?
What about this? Up there. Can that be equal to 0?
Yes.
But I'm dividing by that.
Well, you're trying
So let's say I made this top term equal to 0.
0.
This whole thing now, this whole thing would become 0. I'm not allowed to divide by 0.
So it would have to be the negative 4.
So in this case, when you're dividing, the top matters too. That's also one of our restrictions.
So 0 is
So this also can't be what?
negative 4.
Negative 4. Perfect. That's the one that everybody forgets, is that when you're dividing, the numerator counts as well. Okay, I'm going to do one more. Tougher one.
Wait, these were tough yet?
I don't want to do that thing over and over, so we can.
So
Just the name would be.
Okay. So we got the same thing now, but it's not in like that nice factored form that we had before, right? So what we want to do is we want to factor this, but let's flip it first. We know we need to flip this because we're dividing. So let's rewrite this whole thing. M squared minus 15m plus 54 over 9m squared minus 81m times, and now I'm flipping it, right? So on the top I've got 9m squared minus 27m over 9m cubed minus 54m squared.
So we want to factor.
We gotta, the whole goal with all of these is we want to factor, because when we factor things, we're gonna get something nice in brackets that we can hopefully cancel with something on the bottom. So that's kind of the general trend of all of these. So we want to, let's factor everything we can. So the top, do you remember how we factor one of those?
What?
So this top term is what I'm factoring, right? So there's going to be an m and an m.
No clue.
They need to multiply to this number, and they need to add to that number. So I start going through the numbers. What numbers multiply to 54?
Graham.
I'll give it to you. 9 and 6.
Because
9 and 6 would be good ones, right? Because 9 and 6, I can also get to 15 from 9 and 6, right? So 9 and 6 are the two that are going to go here.
That would take me like 5 minutes to figure out.
9 and 6. Okay. What are the signs going to be?
positive.
Negative and negative.
Got to be negative and negative.
Oh,
Because it needs to multiply to positive 54, so you have the right idea, but add to negative 15. So negative 6 plus negative 9 or negative 6 minus 9 is negative 15.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Good so far. How do we factor that bottom one now? They're even easier, I think. Make sure you guys look at this and say, okay, what's common in this term
9
and that term?
9.
9 and
9 and 9
M. Yeah.
and
So we can take out 9
I'm going to take out the 9M.
9.
And I'm going to be left with M
I don't.
minus 9.
You're so stupid. What'd you say?
Not this, sorry. English.
Hey, don't take my pen. That's my pen.
Okay,
Give me the eraser. My pen back.
so this is looking promising though, right? I know now I'm going to be able to cancel M minus 9 with M minus 9. Okay, let's do the top again. I'm going to factor out the 9M again. I'm left with M minus 3 over, what would the bottom be? What could I factor out? 9,
M squared.
yeah, M squared. And I'm left with M minus 6.
Oh.
Okay, now it's time to cancel stuff. This is what we were looking for. We want to start just looking for stuff that's on the top and bottom now.
Cancel the 9s.
The 9s? Okay, 9M even, right? 9M to 9M. Yeah. M minus 9 and M minus 9. Anything else?
M minus 6 and M minus 6.
Right, M minus 6
Makes
and
it
M
so
minus
much
6.
easier when you can just cross everything out.
So it's actually 3 over 9.
Yep, so then we just write what we have left. We have M minus 3 over 9M squared, where X cannot be equal to, and now we'll look back to the beginning. What can X not be equal to? Actually, it's going to be better if we look to here.
Right there. Right, no.
Crap, we should have factored it while we're still in the division stage. Oh well.
No.
Whatever.
Anyway, it doesn't matter because the top and bottom here can't be because we just flipped it, right? So we're going to look at these and say, okay, what can M not be equal to?
6.
M cannot be equal to 0, right? Because we'd be divided by 0 there.
Okay. That looks good.
It can't be equal to 9, right? Yeah.
Can't be equal to 6.
Can't be equal to 6, yeah. Because of here. And it can't be equal to 3. So we're good with that? That's it. That's multiplying and dividing. You guys okay with that?